place is creepy as hell, I tell Kaylee as she relocks the gate in front of the abandoned insane asylum. Then I realize just what she's doing. Wait, why are you locking it again? Because I don't want anyone to know we're in here, dummy, she says. If someone drives by, like my dad, I don't want him to see the chain unlocked. Oh, I say. Okay. I look through the gloomy distance to the front door of the abandoned structure. It's 3 stories tall and made of bricks. Most of the windows are boarded up, but a few are like missing teeth and a skeletal smile. We head up the walkway, our feet crunching on dead leaves and the brittle grass growing out of the cracks in the concrete. Kaylee's parents own the place, which is why she has the keys to get in. She swiped them from her dad's desk, apparently. I don't know why they would want to run an old, run-down insane asylum, but they do. And Kaylee has talked me into exploring it with her. She knows I have a huge crush on her, and she doesn't shy away from using that fact to get me to do things I normally wouldn't. It's kind of messed up, but at the same time, I like being around her. So it's also kind of a win-win. The front door is really boarded up, so we won't be able to get in that way. So we walk along the front to climb in through one of the windows. You've never been here before? I ask her. Never. How come? Because my dad always made a big deal about how long I'd be grounded if I ever came here. And yet, here we are, I say. Yeah, well, my dad. We pause our conversations as we climb in through a window. I pull my phone out and turn the flashlight on. When Kaylee doesn't do the same, I ask her why not. I didn't bring my phone, Sam, she says, like it should be obvious. My parents can track it. Oh, right. We move out of the room and down the hall. Kaylee leads the way. I ask her if she wants to talk about whatever is bothering her, but she snaps at me, so I let it go. We move up to the 3rd floor, seeing a bunch of nothing but an old rundown building. There's no furniture, no hospital beds, no ancient and cruel medical instruments. Still, the place is kind of creepy. It's a little too quiet for my taste. Kaylee stops outside a room with a heavy metal door. She stands on her tiptoes and looks through the window fixed in the middle. The kind that's reinforced with wiring so it can't be broken easily. I shine the light so she can see. Whoa, she says. It's a padded room. She's right. The room has no windows and no other doors. It's just a square with rotten foam and brittle vinyl on the walls. My grandpa worked here, she says. So did my grandma. It's where they met. He was a doctor. She was a nurse. No shit, I say. Is that why your parents own the place? She doesn't answer me. Apparently they did some bad stuff here, she says in a low voice. Like, really bad. I assume she's talking about her grandparents, but the tone of her voice keeps me from asking. She pulls the door open and steps inside. You coming in? She asks. I hesitate. Suit yourself, Sammy the Scaredy. I'm the only crazy one here anyway. She pulls the door shut, leaving me outside with the phone.
The voices!
She shouts dramatically.
The voices, Sam! They're in my head!
I feel a sudden rush of petty anger. She's always doing little things like this to me, belittling me, calling me dumb names. Without thinking much about it, I turn off the flashlight and stand perfectly still, away from the window. After a moment, Kaylee goes quiet.
Sam?
She asks. There's fear in her voice, but I can't tell if it's genuine or not. Probably not. I stay quiet. The handle clicks, but the door doesn't open.
Sam?
She shouts.
Open the door! Open the door, there's someone in here!
Okay, I'm coming, I say, stepping over and trying the door. It doesn't budge.
Sam!
This time it's a scream, a terrified scream. I turn the flashlight on and shine it through the window. I see Kaylee there, but she's not alone. There are at least a dozen other people in there, surrounding her, staring at her. They wear ragged and stained hospital gowns, and most of their heads are shaved. allowing me to see lobotomy scars. Their skin is sallow and dirty, and their eyes shine with pale light.
Sam!
Kaylee screams again as hands grip her head, fingers digging into her eye sockets and hooking into her mouth. I try the door again, but it doesn't budge. After Kaylee's screams fade to a wet gurgle, I look inside the room one last time. Now it's my turn to scream.
Are we live? Are you live streaming this?
I asked, the young man pointing his phone at me.
Yes, we're live streaming to our followers right now.
The obnoxious one said. His name was Chris, and he was standing next to me, edging closer to get into the frame. The one holding the phone was named Terry, and his focus was on getting the shot, as they say in the business.
Okay,
I said, looking into the camera.
Okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about this place.
I gestured at the abandoned asylum behind me. It was an ugly concrete structure, 4 stories tall. Although it was still early afternoon, the heavy cloud cover gave the place an especially moody appearance.
It was abandoned in the 1980s,
I said.
and I was a big reason for it shutting down. You probably just see an old man with ratty clothes before you. But I was once a young man, and I had my problems. My parents had me committed here in the late 70s. It was much easier to do back then, you know. But my parents were just trying to help me. They didn't know what to do, so they put me here. And they had no idea about the abuse that I underwent. Not until later, anyway. Okay,
Chris said, laughing nervously.
let's not get carried away before we even get inside the place. Terry, why don't you go on ahead and get some footage without us in it? Let the people get a feel for the place.
Terry nodded and moved past us up the stairs, moving through the doors that we'd opened earlier in preparation for the shoot. As soon as Terry was out of earshot, Chris turned to me.
This is not what we discussed,
He said.
I do the introduction, remember? Then I'll ask you questions about your time here. That's a format that we follow, okay?
Right, I said, looking down at my shoes.
Sorry. I'm not used to being in front of the camera, like you. Yeah, well, it does take some skill. There's an art to it.
I nodded.
I'll try to remember. It's just, being here again, it's hard for me. I can't imagine.
Chris said, brushing dandruff off his shoulder.
Now, let's do this thing.
I followed him in, and we went past the reception area. Terry was halfway down a hall strewn with debris. We moved to catch up with him. When he heard us coming, he turned around and put the camera on us. Chris put a hand on my shoulder, and we stopped in the middle of the rundown hall.
I'm Chris Weston, and I'm here with Ray Thomas, who was actually kept in this very facility against his will for nearly a decade. Mr. Thomas has been gracious enough to share his story with us here today. As he tells us his tale, we'll get a glimpse into the barbaric conditions that some mentally ill people had to put up with before changes in psychiatric care eliminated the need for places like this.
I smiled as Chris spoke, waiting. I must admit that I was excited. Not so much about the interview, but about what would happen at the end. Chris asked me softball questions as we moved through the place, stopping occasionally to look into rooms where old medical equipment stood. I knew for a fact that Chris and Terry had planted much of the creepy stuff that was now in the building. But that was their prerogative. They wanted to sensationalize, and I was all too happy to go along with it.
This was the place where I was beaten by 2 orderlies,
I said, as we stopped at what had been the day room.
I was watching TV when it was time for my meeting with Dr. Pritchard, but I didn't want to go to the meeting. You see, at that time, I'd come to think that the people on the television were my only friends. It was as if I was there with them, and talking to Dr. Pritchard was like coming out of the fantasy. So I refused to go, and that's when they beat me. Weren't there other patients and asylum employees around?
Chris asked.
Oh, yes,
I said.
Lots of them. But that was the way this place was run. Anyone who spoke out against that kind of treatment was fired by Dr. Pritchard. It's amazing that you survived,
Chris said.
I understand that suicide was common in places like this. Yes, many of my friends killed themselves. I tried a couple of times, but I could never get it right. They always stopped me before I could finish the job. And then they'd beat me for trying.
Chris shook his head.
Brutal.
We continued on. Eventually, we moved down to the basement, where I told them the worst day of my life had been. This wasn't a part of the prearranged plan, but I had been teasing the story for the whole interview, and I had both men hooked. I knew what people wanted to hear, after all. So I led them into the morgue, where the only light came from Terry's camera phone. I stopped in front of the wall of cadaver storage racks. Some of the square metal doors were closed, while others hung open at jaunty angles, revealing the metal shelves sitting empty on rollers.
This was where Dr. Pritchard put me once, when I was bad,
I said, gesturing at one of the closed doors.
He put you in there?
Chris asked, his voice giddy with emotion. He knew this was good stuff, just as I did, but he hadn't seen anything yet.
Yes,
I said.
With the dead people. He locked me in there for hours. My God,
Chris said.
What did you do when you got out? What do you think? I killed Dr. Pritchard.
I let that hang in the air. Chris and Terry looked at each other, then back at me.
Seriously though, what happened?
Chris asked. Let me show you, I said, turning to open the cadaver storage door. I opened it and pulled the metal tray part way out for the two men to see. It was stacked with all kinds of sharp objects I'd planted earlier, before I ever contacted Chris to pitch my story. I picked up a bone saw from the tray and turned toward the two men.
And you know the best part? They never caught me.
Terry was further away from me than Chris, and I saw him lower the phone, a terrified look on his face. Chris seemed to think it was great showmanship, though. He was apparently willing to play along.
How did you do it?
He asked. I stepped toward him.
Did you even do any research on this place before this job? Or does the truth not matter? Is this all just content for you? Just never-ending content?
That did it. Chris suddenly realized he was in danger, but it was too late. I slashed out with the bone saw, slicing through his neck like it was nothing more than a cold sausage. Terry screamed and ran out of the room, tripping over a pile of rubble and dropping his phone. He scrambled up and ran toward the stairwell. I didn't give chase. Not yet. Instead, I picked up his phone and pointed it at my face.
How's this for content?
I said. Then I stepped back into the morgue and pointed it at Chris, who was spasming and convulsing on the floor. His hands clutched at his wound, but he was unable to stop the alarming flow of blood. It didn't take him long to die, and when he did, I reached into his pocket for the keys to the truck. Keys safely in my pocket, I ran after Terry, still holding the phone up so the little piggies could have their content. I knew Terry wouldn't be getting far without a vehicle, not out here in the country. I'd picked this place for a reason after all. I'd never actually been a patient here, or at any asylum. But that's not to say I shouldn't have been. For the second time in as many minutes, a child's laughter and the patter of little feet erupt from the darkness.
Come on,
I say to Roman.
Let's get out of here.
Roman ignores me, peering down the hallway in the abandoned asylum. He smiles.
That's pretty good. Pretty creepy. Who did you tell? What are you talking about? Who did you tell we were going to be here?
He asks before taking a swig from his flask.
I don't know. Jackson, I guess? What does that have to do with anything?
Roman turns to look at me, his flashlight beam moving across the cracked linoleum and institutional gray walls.
Someone's with us. You think there are really kids running around in here? It's 12 o'clock at night. Use your head, man.
The laughter and footfalls come again. This time they're closer. It sounds like two kids, but Roman's right. What would two little kids be doing here so late at night?
That doesn't sound like a recording to me,
I tell him.
Sounds pretty real, so let's get going. Oh, I bet the footsteps are real,
Roman says.
Probably Jackson and some of his little friends running around. But the laughter? I bet that's played on someone's phone. Or maybe they even set up some Bluetooth speakers around the place. I don't think so.
Roman moves down the hall, taking a long pull from his flask before putting it away. I stay where I am, looking over my shoulder toward the back door where we came through. Why do I expect anything different when I go out with Roman? It's always the same shit, always some stupid drunken escapades. When we first came into the place, I was worried about a wall or a ceiling collapsing on us. Now my worries are of a wholly different nature.
Where are you?
Roman calls as he moves down the hall.
I'm coming to get you.
The replying laughter sends chills up my spine. Something isn't right about this. Roman picks something up off the floor. A chunk of brick, it looks like, from a crumbling wall, and continues down toward the sounds. I hurry to catch up with him.
Hey, if it really is Jackson, don't throw that at him, okay? You could really hurt someone.
He pays me no mind. He never does when he's drunk. But if I stick close to him, maybe I can stop him from hurting someone, if there is a real person in here. The hallway is lined with doors to various patient rooms. Some of them are standing wide open, while others are closed or only open a crack. Up ahead, just beyond the reach of our flashlights, a figure darts into a room on the left, slamming the door.
Let's just go.
I try one last time, fear making my voice tremble.
I got you now, f***er,
Roman says, rushing toward the room. I follow closely, heart careening off my ribcage as Roman throws the door open and steps into the room. It's empty, save for an old metal bed frame in the corner and rubble on the floor. Then Roman's flashlight beam fixes on a hole in the brick wall. A pair of little feet disappear through the hole that's just big enough for a child to slip through. Roman runs up to the wall, laughing crazily, and slams into it playfully.
You f***er,
He shouts. The wall sags away from him, the ancient bricks shifting over the hole.
get back!
I shout, lunging forward and yanking him back as the wall collapses into the adjacent room, filling the air with dust. We stare at the fallen wall as the dust settles. My flashlight beam finds a small figure, half buried in the rubble. It's a child, a little boy. He's not moving.
What did you do?
I whisper. There's a scream, and another child, a little girl maybe a year older than the boy, runs into the adjacent room and starts throwing bricks off the boy.
Aiden!
She screams.
Aiden!
Heavy footfalls sound from the hallway, coming down the same way we did.
What's wrong?
A man shouts.
What happened?
I look to the door and see a man step into the room. He has a couple of grocery bags in hand, carrying what looks like mostly canned food. His beard is bushy and his hair long. His clothes are dirty. He freezes just inside the doorway, looking from us to the two children, one of which is clearly dead. The girl continues to scream and cry. The man's mouth opens and he drops his grocery bags.
No.
Is all he manages.
Aiden! No!
Roman and I stare at him, struck, speechless. I knew something like this would happen one day with Roman. I knew it.
You killed my boy!
The man shouts, eyes turning hard and teeth clamping together. He rushes toward us, grabbing me by the neck in his fury. He slams me against the wall and tightens his grip, preventing me from pulling in a breath. Roman slams the piece of brick he picked up into the back of the man's head. The man's eyes go wide and he lets me go, turning stiffly to face Roman, who bashes him with the brick a second time. The man crumples to the floor, and the girl screams even louder now. I turn and run. I don't wait for Roman. I just run. It's not until I get home that I realize the girl's screams suddenly stopped before I even managed to get out of the asylum. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.